All right, here we go. It is time once again for a meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I am Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont. Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Typically, when I get started with these things, I go to my guy, Jeff Cohen, for a little update on his podcast. He's not here, so Joe Ross, you're up. What's going on in today in baseball history? Go.
Today, thank you very much, incidentally. Today, very interesting. In 1940, Ted Williams, we all know him, asked the Red Sox to trade him to the Detroit Tigers. Seems he was mad at the sports writers and fans because they criticized him, which of course was a no-no, and they booed him because he made an error and then struck out. Coincidentally, exactly 20 years later, he was named the player of the decade by the Sporting News. The other interesting one that I think is one that's worth talking about was actually only a couple of years ago. In 2022, Cleveland had a great eighth inning. After the first two batters struck out, Luke Maile struck out swinging for the third strikeout of the inning. But the ball got past him past the catcher, and Maile reached first. Because of that little minor mishap, supposedly, 7 players reached safely to score 6 runs before the next third out. The Guardians then went on to beat the Detroit Tigers 8-4. First time, according to Elias Sports Bureau, at least since 1961, which is when expansion started, that a team scored 6 runs in an inning after 3 strikeouts. A great inning. And that's a little bit of what happened today in baseball history.
Joe, tell them how they can get the newsletter.
You can subscribe to the Today in Baseball History email program, which happens every single day of the year, for $15.95. But if you're a SABR member, it's only $10. And we do that by just sending me an email at jandeross@gmail.com. Thank you.
There you go. So I'm going to put somebody on the spot here for just a second. Gary Mintz just popped in. Gary, how you doing?
Hey, Bruce, welcome back.
Wow, thank you. Welcome in tonight, my friend.
Everything's good, thank you.
There you go. Hey, what's going on with the New York Giants Preservation Society?
We keep zooming along. We got a Zoom on Ray Noble, who is a Cuban catcher for the Giants in the early 50s on Thursday. And then I just came back from Cooperstown. I saw the induction of Jeff Kent, and it was quite an experience I had there with the Giants. So I was very fortunate enough that they invited me to a private party for him, and it was just wonderful seeing a lot of ex-players and administrators with the team.
Gary, you're just too fancy for me. You're going to these parties
Yeah,
and you're
fancy. That's
hobnobbing. I
funny.
mean, really. Hey, when's your next Zoom?
Our next Zoom is Thursday.
Who you got?
Tom Van Heining, who is going to be talking about Ray Noble. So
That's terrific. If you are not on his mailing list, Gary, drop your email in the chat, would you please?
sure, absolutely.
And send him an email. He'll put you on the mailing list. He has some great stuff that he does, and you really should get involved with his group. I think you're going to have a really great time with some knowledgeable and fun baseball fans. And I mean, what better, right?
And I know
Right.
Ann's down there. Ann is in May. We're doing something for Willie Mays as far as home run derby, which I know she was part of. So
Oh, nice.
I think she was part of it, or somebody related to her.
No, but the gentleman that ran the home run derby is married to an actor named by the name of Michael Dante, who played baseball
That
for
was
the
it.
Orioles, and so I connected with him, and that's
That
the
was it. There was a
connection.
relationship there.
That
I
was
knew.
her dad was and he died very early, and then the Home Run Derby TV show was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and we always have Dixie usually joins us, which is great because
Yep.
he's just, besides being so knowledgeable, he's very funny. So I like that.
Appreciate it, Gary. Thank you very much. This is what the baseball community is all about. It's about connection, it's about sharing, and it's about learning. And that's why we're here. We love every second of it. Speaking of the baseball community, I want to talk to you for just a moment about Alan Cohen. Alan is a longtime researcher and member of the Society for American Baseball Let's try that again. A longtime member of the Society for American Baseball Research. There, I said it. There's always a malaprop when I'm doing these things. And he was recently transferred to a new facility in Bloomfield, Connecticut. He has been doing a little bit better, but they are moving him there to do some more work with him. I've been in touch with his daughter, and she was hoping to get some SABR members who know him or maybe don't know him, but admire his work, to drop a get well card in the mail to him. If you would be interested in doing so, please email me directly and I will send you along his mailing address. I do have that. And I think it would serve to lift his spirits. And I know that he's going to be watching some of these shows on YouTube. So, Alan, get better soon. We love you. We need you around. We want you around. And better days are coming, my friend. They are. I know the Yard Goats have been in touch with you. I hope Jeff Dooley did get in touch with you today. He's a good friend, has been now for, I don't want to tell you how long because it's a long time. But if you would like to get involved with that program and send a get well card to Alan Cohen, send me an email today. Where's Megan? Megan, save me. I can't talk this evening.
I think you're doing fine.
You sure? I'm blammering on for crying out. See, Megan gets a regular check in the mail to tell me that. So she sent me a little copy that I'm going to try to read, but we're going to get Megan involved here in just a second. Clyde's Vibes is now accepting submissions for our upcoming fall issue. We are seeking contributions, research articles, personal essays, poetry, photography, artwork are just some of the many examples of what we're looking for. The deadline is October 15th, 2026, and you may send your proposal or completed draft to our newsletter email address, clydesvibesnewsletter@gmail.com. And if you have questions, you may contact our editor, Megan Hanna, on screen right now. Megan, how far along are we on our next edition?
Well, we just finished the last one about 15 days ago. So
I mean, come on, right?
taking a little bit of a breather here.
Come on. No rest for the weary.
Actually, we have 4 or 5 submissions already. So looking good, looking good. But we certainly are in the market for some more. So anyone has any ideas, any thoughts, certainly send them my way.
So the email, once again, is clydesvibesnewsletter@gmail.com. And all submissions and such go into that queue. And Megan will take it from there.
Sure. Or to me directly still. Either one is fine.
Perfect. All right. I got through it. I only screwed up a couple of words. That's not bad this evening. I mean, really. They say imitation is the best form of flattery. And if that's so, tonight's meeting should be very flattering to our friend, the great Donna Muscarella. She is the president of the Elysian Fields chapter and came up with the idea of a show and tell meeting that was recently held in conjunction with the Chicago chapter. So we decided to do something similar here that we're calling Sukeforthian Show and Tell. Tonight, we'll be hearing from 3 members of our chapter who will be displaying and discussing favorite baseball memorabilia from their collections. So let's get right to it. Now, any good manager in Major League Baseball, every once in a while, he juggles the lineup a little bit. And I juggled the lineup a little bit tonight because I wanted one specific guy to go third tonight because he's got something to show you. But we're going to start off with Doug Rubin. Doug, where are you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right, man. I'm just going to turn it over to you. You can show us your object, tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll take some questions.
Okay, so 1965, my eyes were open to baseball, and I became a Dodgers fan, partially because D-O blank G, sort of the same name, and my father was a Dodgers fan too, plus they won the World Series in 65. And 74, they had a good team. They actually had very good teams, but the Reds were a little better. And then in 77, all of a sudden they became good. And I was a senior in college, no, a freshman in college. I had boundless enthusiasm. I just, who knows what I did, but I ended up leaving my, little dorm room on a Friday morning and headed down towards Philadelphia. And I bought a ticket to see the Dodgers play the Phillies in a playoff game. It was the third playoff game. I don't know if you could see this. Oh, you know what? I'll share my screen. I have a lot of stuff to share.
Perfect.
I'm going to share the whole screen because there's lots of stuff. So, okay. There's a lot of stuff. So there's the ticket. It was the third game. They had split the first two games in Los Angeles. Back then, only 5 games, one round of playoffs before the World Series. I bought the ticket on the subway from some guy I met for $5 of cash. And it was up here. I don't know if you could see this. Is this big enough? Anyway. And this was a game that had a lot of twists and turns. I mean, remember, this was Philadelphia. I was probably among, 800, 1,000 Dodger fans. It was sold out. I just couldn't care less. I was a fan. I love the Dodgers. And I was so thrilled they were in the playoffs against the Phillies. And it was a game that went back and forth. Actually, it could have gone either way. Bottom of the 8th, Phillies scored 2 runs. Then the top of the 9th, Dodgers scored 3 runs. This is the win probability formula from Baseball Reference. And I was there, obviously. This was the Dodgers. They're all clean cut and wonderful, and the whole Dodger stuff. I'm not a Dodger fan anymore. They did have an infield, in case you don't remember. They had an infield. A very well-known infield from 74 to 81. Pretty famous group of guys. Adequate, I guess, according to this person. But, going to the game, it just, I scored the game, right? That's what we do. We're baseball fans. And this was the game. I don't know if anyone remembers. Bert Hooton sort of melted down and walked 4 guys in a row, walked in 3 runs. That was in the second inning here. And I was excited to be here. I was very excited. That's all I could say. I guess memorabilia is just a little bit of, it's stuff, but it's really the meaning we attribute to the stuff that makes the stuff so interesting, whether it's a whatever, whatever's going to happen. This is the Vic Davalillo infield hit. This is the hit that the pinch hitter Manny Mota hit against the wall. Greg Lazinski sort of trapped it. I mean, the whole thing's on YouTube now if you want to watch it. This was what I originally considered an error because it got bounced off Mike Schmidt, the Saint. He didn't even have that great a year that year in 77. And then Lopes was an attempted pickoff at first base, but the pitcher threw it away, came into second. Bill Russell knocked him home. And that was the winning run. And then Garmin comes in at the bottom of the 9th for a relatively clean inning. And I even noticed that I wrote down, as the Dodgers used to say in 45 to 54, wait till next year. I wrote that down in the program. And then obviously I crossed it out because I was thrilled at the result. And anyway, it was a wonderful time. And I still talk about it. My favorite baseball fans I share this memory with, and I'm pleased to share it with you. And I'll take questions if you want, but I hope I've shared the essence of what this ticket means to me. I also have a little memorabilia of the '88 World Series too, but that's not as personal and on the scene. Okay.
Doug, have you been to any playoff baseball since?
No, I haven't. I don't know how it could ever match. I'm a Red Sox fan now, and they have many levels of playoffs, and I don't know. I'm not sure I want to go to another playoff. I've gone to meaningful games at the end of seasons, but okay, yeah.
I have to agree with you that the Dodgers infield there was very, very clean cut, especially the first baseman. Mr. Garvey was a pillar of the community over the years. Yeah, right. I just read a story on social media in one of the baseball card forums. Somebody was talking about sending cards to Garvey to have signed, and including, I think it was $5 or so in the envelope. And Garvey sent back the cards unsigned and kept the $5. Oh, okay. Eric Poulin in the chat. Steve Garvey is not my padre. Hey, Dixie, you're up. Go.
Oh, my question is easy. I thought you said you bought the ticket on the subway for $5 and the ticket says $7. How did that happen?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I just met a guy who was chatty and everything. He said he had a ticket in his pocket, and he said $5, and I don't know. I mean, who knows?
Underselling playoff tickets?
Who knows? I guess he wasn't trying. Who knows how much he paid for it? Who maybe he liked me. Who knows? I didn't even sit with him. It was an extra ticket. It was a single that who knows? I don't really remember the intricacies of the secondary market back then.
Amazing.
Yeah, $5 for a playoff ticket. Good Lord. You can't even buy a box of popcorn for $5 in a regular season game. And I don't even think you can buy a box of popcorn for $5 in a regular season game in AA in here in New Hampshire.
Well, I was looking at, the $2 scorecard, and I bought that, and I have it here still. So adjusted for inflation, that's about $12.50. I'm sure Major League Baseball charges, $30 or $40 for a program, and the ads in it are so quaint. They're like, you could see the ad is like for an orthopedic shoe company in South Philadelphia. What is this? Glass Bottle Blowers Association. Here's a gun company, a gun shop, whatever. It's amazingly. It was a small time business. These salaries of the players back then were $350,000, which was obviously a good living in the mid 70s, but not even close to what, the money that's in baseball now. So anyway.
So true. Gary Mintz, you're up. Go, man.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, man. There you go.
Doug, I enjoyed your presentation on this. I noticed that you said you crossed out wait till next year, but you didn't cross out something else on the bottom below that, which I found very interesting.
I was enthusiastic, yes.
I believe. And my other comment was, I like looking at old time box scores, and I noticed the Dodgers. Boy, they had some catching core. Steve Yeager, Johnny Oates, and Jerry Grody. That's a tough trio to beat. That was very impressive to see on the scoreboard. On the scorecard, I mean.
So I thought Oates was on Philadelphia, but I could be wrong.
I thought I saw it on the Dodgers.
You might be right. Well, definitely,
There he is. Oates, number 5.
Yeah.
And Jerry Grody,
for both.
Jerry Grody, I'm not a Met fan, but boy, oh boy, he was probably the best defensive catcher I ever saw. And Johnny Bench even mentioned him as being the best defensive catcher there ever. He was at the end of his career here, but he was terrific.
He was a great pickup, yeah. And obviously, I watched the World Series with some friends at college, and that was not as much fun. I don't know. I don't think that was the year. It was the year after the Reggie Jackson and the home runs. And anyway, the Dodgers were good back then. Yeah.
And
Was
they've also made quite a celebrity now at the Hall of Fame of Rick Monday with
Oh,
the
yeah.
Oh,
50th
yeah.
anniversary
Mhm.
of the
Yeah,
flag.
the flag. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
was it 77 that Jackson hit 3 home runs on 3 pitches, I thought, in the World
I
Series?
think it was 78.
All right. Somebody go to the Google box and let me know on that one. It's either 77 or 78, but I can't remember. I distinctly remember seeing them, but Aaron's in the chat. Mark Aaron's in the chat says it was
77.
77.
Threw his
Yep.
hip into the ball that was going to be a double play.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was 78.
Yep. There you go. Yep. Perfect. Hey, this is good stuff. Doug, thank you very much for doing that. That was fun.
Thank
Awesome
you.
stuff. I love that stuff. So next up, our number 2 hitter this evening
Mhm.
is Saber's best and favorite raconteur, Jack Bales, who has been with us several times before, done a couple of presentations for us that have been
Yeah.
fantastic. And he's got something really, really cool that I want him to share with us now. So, Jack,
Okay.
go get him.
Okay.
Share your screen and or
Okay.
however you want to. Are you sharing your screen or are you showing it off?
I can just show it off here. I can share my screen though too. I'll just give it a try here. Let me see.
I don't know if you have pictures of it on your screen or whatever. However you want to do it.
No, it's not working too well. Can I just
That's okay. You
stay
have
like
the
this?
object though, right?
Yeah, I got it right here in my hand.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all
Yeah.
yours, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. The talks Bruce has mentioned have all been about the Chicago Cubs. I'm a longtime Chicago Cubs fan. I'm kind of a collector of Cubs items. I'm a retired librarian, so I've got dozens and dozens of Cubs books, and a lot of them are autographed. The very first Cubs book was this one by Warren Brown uh, uh, with Charlie Grimm on the cover, and it's got this long autograph here to a medical guy, a medical person who helped the team. But and I've got a lot of earlier things too. And my real favorite one is just this ordinary spoon here, but it's a really important spoon because I'm really into the early Cubs, especially the 19th century. I got another book on the early Cubs coming out in January on the 1880s. Their first, in fact, it's called the Cubs' First Dynasty, and you can't see it, but there's a logo here, and the logo is right here. This was a spoon owned by Charles Weeman of Weeman's Restaurants in Chicago at the early part of the 20th century, and note his logo right over here, which has the big C and the HAS for Charles right in the center there. And this later appeared on the 1909 Cubs road jersey, the same mock-up, I should say, with the big C on the 1909 Cubs road jersey, which I'm wearing right now. And Charles Weeman is really famous in Cubs history. He was born in 1874, but he later went to Chicago in 1893 and started opening a chain of restaurants. And he opened one and then two and then three. He owned dozens of restaurants in Chicago, and he made a lot of money because he popularized the one-arm chair. Just like in the old schoolhouse, you had a seat and the chair would come out of the side and flop over, and you could get a lot of people in the restaurant with these special chairs, and they were specially designed for people who didn't have much time for lunch. Get them in and get them out, and he made a lot of money. He made a lot of money in the restaurant business, and he invested his money wisely. He knew everybody in town, all the chief financial people he knew in Chicago, and he was, as I said, he was a real man about town. And by 1911, he wanted to get into baseball. And right about then, the Federal League was getting going, and the president of the Federal League, a guy named James Gilmore, persuaded him to buy the Chicago franchise. And people really got interested because he convinced Joe Tinker, the famous player from the Cubs, to come over to the Federal League. And he did that, and the Federal League did really well. The Chicago team, they're called the Chi-Feds. They won second place in 1914 and first place in 1915. But I digress. They needed a ballpark. So in March, I think it was March 4th, 1914, they had a groundbreaking on the north side of Chicago. And they got in about a month and a half, they built what's called Weeman Park on the north side of Chicago, just in time for the very first game ever played there on April 23rd, 1914. In fact, I was there for the 100th anniversary game on April 23rd, 2014, on a very, very, very cold day. But anyway, but he was investing all his money in baseball, and he was running low on cash, and the Federal League wasn't going. He couldn't fight organized baseball. The Federal League was going under in 1915, so he had to get into another business. So he persuaded William Wrigley and some other financial investors to let him buy the Chicago Cubs, and he bought the Cubs on January 16th, January 20th, I think it was, 1916. But he later found his whole financial empire crumbling. Remember, first of all, he was, as a Sporting News said in his obituary, he says, "You can't sell victuals when the boys who make up your trade are somewhere in France." This is World War I. All the young men were in France. Also, the influenza panic of 1918, that people were told to stay away from lots of people. Well, he invested in movie theaters, and he invested in the Cubs, and lots of people there, and also in movie theater, and his restaurants. So ballparks, restaurants, and movie theaters. He invested in all of them. The influenza panic came about, and he was later forced to sell most of his stock to William Wrigley and other creditors. And in 1920, the ballpark became Cubs Park. William Wrigley took over, and in 1926, the ballpark was named Wrigley Field. As far as Charles Weeman goes, he later moved to New York and opened restaurants there. He didn't really do too well. He was vacationing in Hot Springs, Arkansas. He made a layover back to New York and Chicago. He had a stroke and died in 1938. Now, you probably know there's always been a rivalry between the White Sox and the Cubs. And I read a newspaper article a few years ago written by, it was an interview with a Chicago White Sox historian, said, the trouble with Cubs fans, they don't know their history. They have all these statues outside of Wrigley Field, but when are they going to put one up to Charles Weeman? He was the guy who started the Cubs. And I told the Cubs historian Ed Hartig, we both said he doesn't know Cubs history. Charles Weeman, was not too many people know, was also a KKK guy, and he had a big KKK rally on his property in Lake Zurich, Illinois in 1921 with over 12,000 people there. But he still deserves a place in Chicago Cubs history. And Dan Levitt, who wrote a book on the Federal League, he has a nice biography of Weeman on his on the SABR page. And he said that if it weren't for Charles Weeman, the Cubs would still be on the west side in their west side grounds, and they probably would have moved off to the suburbs like so many teams did in the 50s and 60s. And so and Wrigley Field is still happily going on since 1914. And here is my restaurant spoon from Charles Weeman's restaurant with this logo engraved on the spoon. Okay, and it's really one of the prized items in my collection. So who knows how many people ate their tapioca pudding from this particular spoon. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks very much.
Tapioca pudding. So I don't know if you were telling your story there, and you went really quickly over a fact that about knocked me off my chair. Did you just say that Weeman held a KKK rally at his home?
Yes,
and it
Lake
attracted
Zurich.
How many people?
12,000 people. 12,000 people
at his home.
And he lived in a state way out. He had a farm, I should say. He had a farm right out there. In fact, this is from well, I have the actual article about it in my files, but on Dan Levitt's webpage, he says roughly 2,000 automobiles left Chicago in parade fashion, traveling to Women's Estate. This was in Lake Zurich, where around 12,000 Klansmen participated in the area's first mass ritual. Okay, and this was later covered in newspapers and the Chicago Reader. I can't remember that was a very was the first paper that really covered it. I think it was sometime in maybe the 70s or 80s. I have it in my files. But later on, newspapers in Chicago, when they talk about the Cubs, would talk about women. And they in 1996, there was a major article about it in the Tribune, I think.
Jeez, I
But
I never knew that. Once again, you come out with something that is like, wait, what? Oh
yeah,
my, I've never
yeah.
knew that.
Yes, it's rather little known. It's becoming more widely known recently. But I was at I was spent about a week researching at the Hall of Fame library, and I found this article in the Chicago Reader buried in the files on the Cubs. That was the first I knew about it too.
Ooh. And this was it was in SABR President Dan Levitt's book. I
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
If you don't have that book,
It's a
go out
great
and
book.
find that. It's the title escapes me, and I believe it's still available on Amazon if you search his name. But that's a really good book on the Federal League. If you're looking for another really good book,
Oh
ladies
yeah.
and
Yeah,
gentlemen,
that's mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
wrote that thing, man?
Yeah.
This was the first presentation that Jack did for us, one of
Yeah.
my baseball objects that I love, and he graciously provided the Springsteen Library a copy of this book.
Yeah.
If this is another one you can go out to Amazon and get too, so have a look. Any questions for Jack before I move on? The KKK thing just threw me for a loop, but
Yeah.
uh, that's fantastic stuff. Jack, do you have another book coming out, right?
Right, in January 19th, 2027. It's called the Cubs First Dynasty, 1880s Baseball in Chicago, published by the same folks that did that book, the History Press.
So, Jack is penciled in for January of 27. When is it? When is this coming out next year?
January 19th, 2027.
2027. I thought he said 2028 for this. So
No.
Jack's already going to be penciled in for sometime in January. He
Yeah,
doesn't know it until
I've
now.
already done
But
done the PowerPoint already, Bruce.
okay, perfect. Well, then you and I will talk later, my friend. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Jack.
Thank you.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
everybody.
you. That's really good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, so when I changed up the lineup tonight, I did this for a reason. Because when I heard about our next one, I said, "Oh yeah, this has got to be in here." So our next guest is our power hitter of the evening, and he is the editor of the award-winning book Here Comes the Pizzer. The found poetry of Jerry Remy has presented on this topic before and is going to be presenting to us again coming up very soon on another topic, but he's here tonight with a really, really, really interesting object. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Eric Poulin is here. Eric, where are you, my friend?
I'm right here. So the funny part of all this is that honestly, Bruce, I wasn't sure if I was going to offer this up to show to you all, just because baseball memorabilia is a very personal thing oftentimes, and Doug and Jack have very Doug's in particular had very very personal memories. This isn't something that's necessarily a personal memory for me, but it's cool enough that I thought I would share, and it's a story that many of you probably already know. So Harry Carey, as we all know, passed away in 1998. Legendary play-by-play person for the Cardinals, the White Sox, and the Cubs. He was with the White Sox from 1971 to I want to say 1981 or 1982. I might be incorrect about that. And when he joined the White Sox organization, part of what they were hiring when they brought him from St. Louis was Harry. Oh, and you're in Oakland too. That's correct. Thank you. Harry and his personality and all things Harry, with the expectation that he would entertain and be himself. So about 12 years ago, his estate found a daybook that he had kept during the year 1972. Now, it was basically like a calendar book of basically he was keeping track of his expenses. This is in the area. This is in the era of the three martini lunch, where a lot of things that you can write off that you can't really write off now. And it was discovered that in one span, he was in a bar room for 288 consecutive days. He was in a bar room for 347 out of 351 days. And the bar tabs that he would rack up were just astronomical. And I'll get into that in a minute to put them into 2026 numbers. And people noticed that the folks who he was out, so he's out and about in Chicago and other cities across the country. And it's really a snapshot into a time that just doesn't exist anymore. A lot of like old restaurants and bars in Chicago and in various other cities. And it's also just this tremendous who's who of American culture, the people that he is with. So he has to identify where he is, how much he spends, and who he's with. And the older I get, the more I'm like, well, heck, I'm just gonna like ask questions about this. And I reached out to his estate, and I was like, hey, can I come to Chicago and see this book? Can I scan it? Can I do something with it? Because this is fascinating to me. And they said, well, hell, we made 5 or 6 copies of it. Would you like one? So they literally had reproduced the exact diary, and they did it, you've all seen these kind of books before, kind of the faux leather with the wire binding, and I don't know if you can really no, you can't really see it, but it's his handwriting throughout it, listing the bars he's at and who he's with and how much money he spent. So this is just so to give you some perspective. So Sunday, January 2nd, 1972. Now, he also was out in a bar on January 1st also, which, I'm assuming he was also out on New Year's Eve, but this is the just to give you a sense of his endurance. So January 2nd, 1972, he starts at Butch McGuire's, goes to Hennessy's, goes to Healy's, goes to Joe Pepitone's thing. Racks up the equivalent of a $291 tab total in the various places. Now it's like $9.30 here, $8.75 there. And the people that he's with. So this is also during the era where drinking with the players and the managers and the coaches while you're on the road is all totally cool. So even though this is the off season, okay, so January 8th. He's at a place called Sully's with Vida Blue, Joe Torre, and Charlie Finley. He spends a lot of time with Joe Pepitone. So here's a name of some of the people that show up regularly on this. So Ron Santo, Nellie Bryles, Jay Johnstone is there a lot. Bill Melton, I think had a few belts other than, the baseball. Don Drysdale shows up a couple of times. Chuck Tanner's the manager of the White Sox at the time, his whole coaching staff, Dick Allen. Whenever they play in New York or when the Yankees are in town, Billy Martin and Tony Kubek are there having some drinks with him. Other like legendary Chicago writers, Dave Condon, Dick Young. Ted Williams shows up a couple of times, which I think is a little odd considering his reputation. Well, I'd always understood that he wasn't a drinker. But he's I believe he's managing the Texas Rangers at this time, so that could have maybe that drove him to drink. So January 11th, he's having drinks with Jack Benny. February 10th, Paul Hornung. He still had a lot of close connections with the Cardinals. So March 23rd, it's Mike Shannon, Whitey Herzog, and Roger Maris. March 29th, listen to this. So 1972. Who do we tragically lose on the last day of 1972? He's having drinks on March 29th with sports writer John Carmichael and Roberto Clemente, right? Yeah, so it's preseason, so they're in Florida, so all this can happen. Jerome Holtzman, the famous writer and MLB historian, pops up
Yeah.
many times. Earl Weaver is a frequent flyer. Phil Rizzuto. A few great days in Harry's drinking journey. June 16th in Boston. So he's with Jack Craig, who Frank DeFord has called the first television sports critic of all time. Ted Patterson would end up becoming the Orioles play-by-play person, but in 1972, he's working with Kurt Gowdy in Boston. And who else are they with? Derek Sanderson, Boston Bruins legend, hard fighting, hard drinking in his day individual. July 6th in Baltimore. He is, and I wish you could see this because you could see his penmanship getting a little funny as the evening goes on. So he ends up at the Key Club for $29, the Lodge for $8.20, the Singapore for $7.30, the Hilton for $8.65, back to the Key Club again for $24.70, and Sullivan's for $14.50. A total of $92.35 without cabs, without meals, which would be $737 in today's money. That's a bender. And listen to these back-to-back days. Okay, August 17th, he's with Dave Condon, pro basketball player Chet Walker, and Wilt Chamberlain. So on the 17th, he's having drinks with Wilt Chamberlain, and on the 18th, he's in Boston having drinks with Ken Coleman, longtime Red Sox announcer, and Sandy Koufax. So you have drinks on back-to-back nights with Wilt Chamberlain and Sandy Koufax. Only Harry Carey can pull this off. And one of the last kind of funny ones that I came across that I got a kick out of was shortly after the season ended. Monday, October 9th, he runs up a tab with Phil Margo, who was the lead singer of the band The Tokens. He sang The Lion Sleeps Tonight, along with Frank Gifford and Jack Dempsey. So he drinks, he's in bars every day January 16th is the Super Bowl. So he doesn't have anything listed there. I'm assuming everyone is buying him the drinks at the Super Bowl. Until he goes on vacation on Christmas Eve, December 24th. Basically, there's an entry for every single day along those lines. And Graham DePorter of his estate was kind enough to gift me this. I was like, I'm not worthy. I can send this back. And they're like, no, have fun. And hopefully you find some good stuff and do some research on it. So a copy of the Harry Carey drinking diary is and I'm a Red Sox fan. This is my favorite piece of memorabilia in my collection, and I'd be happy if anyone is interested. I would be happy to make scans and send to Bruce or whomever if anyone would like a bit of a sample to take a look at any point.
Wow, that's amazing. Holy, so you made the comment that managing the Texas Rangers probably drove Teddy Williams to drink, and I just looked up the 4 years that Teddy Ballgame managed Washington or Texas. He started out great at 86 and 76, but by the time 72 rolled around, he lost 100 games and then said, "Forget it, I'm out of here." And that ended that.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, oh man. All right, so we got questions. I mean, I'm about speechless, but Dixie, help me go.
I was wondering if you ever looked up why Sandy Koufax was in Boston at that time.
That's a great question. So he does make little notes along the way. So when I mentioned earlier that when he was having drinks with Vida Blue and Joe Torre and Charlie Finley, there was a writer's dinner that was happening that night. So there's a lot of like off-season events that'll or like promotional things through various radio stations or whatnot. There was no note of why on August 18th, 1972, Ken Coleman and Sandy Koufax and those three people are having drinks. So I don't know, but that's a great question, and I should look into that. Thank you. Yeah.
Did he make notes at all on why he was having drinks with certain people, or was it just here I am? I went out and went on a bender with Will Chamberlain and whoever.
Well, I mean, I think part of the expectation, like I said in the beginning, was that he was also like the ambassador for the White Sox at that time. So the more, yeah, and yes, you see like a lot of his buddies, Bill Gleason, famous Chicago sports writers, show up frequently, and he definitely had a few, Dick Enberg, Kurt Gowdy, Bill Veeck goes out drinking with him a couple of times. He definitely has some friends, but I think part of his mission is to, buy the world a drink, I guess. And it's like I said, it's such a different world, it's such a different culture. I read an article this morning just about how much how much drinking has gone down, and which is probably a really good thing, throughout the world. But man, at the same time, something like this is hilarious and charming. And like I said, it's really just like a slice of a world that just doesn't exist anymore.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Mark Hoyle in the chat. And this is high praise, Eric. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And you see what's behind him. That's he's got one of the greatest memorabilia rooms ever. Mark needs to do a presentation for us. I got to get him in too. Ryan McClanahan, wasn't Sandy Koufax with NBC then? Was he still with NBC at that time? Does anybody know? That would be a good question to find out. I'm not sure.
That would make total sense. It could have been a national broadcast. Ian Coleman was I believe was a radio guy at that time. So
wasn't he in Cleveland?
Before.
What's that?
Before he was in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think he was in Cleveland at that time, wasn't he? In 72?
That I don't know.
I'd have to go back and look it up. Ann Enos in the chat. I sat in the stands with Harry and my dad at Phoenix Municipal Stadium in a spring training game in the 70s, and he didn't seem inebriated, which would be one of the few times.
So one of the things that I've read about Harry is that, you could catch him on drink 1 or 2 or drink 13 and 14, and he still kind of had it together. I read a joke once that, or a line about him that, Harry Carey drinks a 6-pack every day, deciding whether or not he's going to drink that day or not. So like the classic, I don't know. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for his White Sox years when he would sit out in the center field bleachers on a day game with a case of beer and his fishing net and just hang out and drink beers with the fans. Again, days that have gone by.
Days gone by. That's right. Tom Harkins, you're up. Go.
Yeah, all those Irish bars that he went to. Where was he on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th?
Hang on. That's a great question. I can't believe I didn't.
Let's go to the book. I love it.
Okay, so they're in Sarasota, Florida, playing Kansas City. Oh wow, kind of disappointing. So a place called the Pub, the Ramada, and the Sarasota, and his penmanship was not great, but he was with Bob Lemon, and two names that I can't quite make out on the spot. But yeah, well, speaking as an Irishman myself, St. Patrick's Day is a little bit, the amateur hour. The real professionals are out in the pubs every night and every weekend. So I'm sure Harry had that same approach.
Good, thank you.
Fantastic. Gary Mintz, go ahead.
Very enjoyable. I just had a quick question regarding the Clemente date. When was that?
Clemente date was March 29th.
Of what year?
1972.
That can't be. Oh, actually, it could be. He died in December.
Yeah.
72. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where was it?
So they have a day off. It's in spring training, so they're in Florida somewhere.
Got it.
He doesn't specifically say where he is. It just says open because it's a day off. The Moors, Ramada, the Elbow Room, and the Surf and Island bar are the places that he's with John Carmichael and Clemente.
That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you look at some of the pictures from the Milwaukee Braves during the Henry Aaron days of fans going to the stadium, you can see photographs where fans are carrying on their shoulder cases of beer to take into the stadium. So beer drinking was like Pepsi drinking or Coke drinking today.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. So Kovacs was still broadcasting in 72. That seems to have been his last full year of broadcasting. From what has been said in the chat, there's been some good stuff going on in there. He had originally signed a 10-year contract, but left, and I lost the comment. He left in, I think it was 73. So he didn't last long, and he just didn't like it, from what I understand.
Honestly, Bruce, I do think when you drill down with every little piece of this, I mean, I think there's a book in this book to be written. I don't know if I'm the person that's going to write it. There was recently a really excellent book about the 72 White Sox that came out maybe 5 years ago or so, that I'm blanking on the name of. It's about Dick Allen and Chili Dog Hot Dog, Chili Dog Home Run, something along those lines. That was really, really great. So I don't know. That might have dried up the market for the 1972 White Sox for the time being, but I don't know. I think, like I said, I'm not a Chicago guy. I'm a Massachusetts guy. I think someone who's a Chicago guy who knows these streets, who knows these specific addresses and bar rooms would be a better person to do it than I. But I do think there's a book in here.
But think of all the fun you could have finding them.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
All right. The great Paul Hensler is here, and he's got something to ask. Paul, go.
Yes, sir. Eric, as you segue from the end of March into early April, don't forget that most teams lost anywhere between 6 to 9 games because opening day was delayed because of the first players' strike that affected the season. Or is there any notation in there about that early part of April that may have indicated a labor stoppage?
So not in his notes. So okay.
That's a good question. That's right.
So I don't know the exact dates, but it's around there.
All right. So in late March, he's in Florida, and it seems like he's pretty consistently in Florida right up until April when
the strike was April 1 through April 13.
Okay.
He has notes of Oakland in Chicago, open dates. Okay, so perhaps, yeah. However, okay, so now I'm looking at this, and thank you for that question. He has written in a different color pen so at Oakland, at Kansas City, etc. So I'm wondering if he wrote those dates earlier in advance, expecting the season to be happening, and then so it doesn't really, I guess it doesn't impact where he so actually, and now that I'm looking at it, as he's saying he's in Kansas City, he is in local Chicago bars, even though it's noted Sox at Kansas City. So I think we got it. I think we got the answer to that. So he wasn't planning on a strike, but there was one. But I guess it didn't stop him from, going out and about.
Thanks for checking.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you.
This is the hard-hitting research that SABR is known for.
Exactly.
Make it, Hannah. You're up.
Yeah, I just actually had a comment. I think the most surprising thing about your presentation is that any of those guys had to buy their own drinks at all. If I was in a bar and Harry Carey walked in with Ted Williams, you better believe I would have bought them a drink. I'm surprised he had to spend his own money.
Well, so Harry was very, from what I've read, was very kind of belligerent about, no, don't buy my drinks. Let me buy you a drink. So if Megan, if you approached Harry Carey and said, sir, can I buy you a drink? He would be, no, let me buy you one. And that's just how he rolled. And that explains some of these tabs. And, uh, was it WGN that was broadcasting them at the time? Whoever the station was is picking up his tab. And that was also, again, part of the expectation. You're getting Harry Carey, you're getting all of Harry Carey.
You're right. Very cool. Very cool item.
Yeah, thanks.
This is why I changed the lineup up and had Eric go last, because that's just fantastic. Who would have thought that is out there? I mean, come on.
Honestly, I have to say, Graham DePorter and the Harry Carey restaurant group. I had every intention of getting on a plane and going there and would have been incredibly thankful if they allowed me just to look at it and to make scans or to take pictures. And they were just like, "Oh, heck no. We made a couple extra copies. Let me send you one."
That's amazing.
Yeah, really, really, really nice.
That's just amazing. There's a book there. There's it. And I put this in the chat to Megan, so I'm gonna blow my cover for a minute here. There's at least an article for Clyde's vibes there.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah. You know what I'm doing. Now, before I forget, this is not the last you're going to see of the great Eric Poulin, because he is going to be back with us Monday, September 21st for his presentation, No One Mourns the Wicked, or Whatever Happened to the Sundown Kid. Now, I need to promise in front of God, everybody here, and on this video that will be posted on YouTube tomorrow, I will not sing from Wicked before his presentation. I'm not doing it. No.
So, fair warning, that presentation will be a lot less fun than tonight's. A lot less fun. It comes with a full-blown content warning.
Yep.
Of lots of very unsavory things will be talked about that night. So, yeah.
But it will be a very it's a very interesting story to hear, and I think that story needs to get out into the wild, so to speak, for lack of a better term. So he's going to be doing that for us on Monday, September 21st at 7:30. Sign up at the chapter events calendar at brucemcclurenh.com. Eric, once again, you've knocked it out of the park. I mean, really, you're fantastic. That's awesome, man.
Well, Doug and Jack as well. Yeah.
Right?
And Jack was the perfect transition, I think, with the spoon from the Chicago restaurant. Perfect. Harry had a drink there at some point.
So we've had 3 terrific presentations tonight: Doug Rubin, Jack Bales, and Eric Poulin. And I have plenty more warming up in the Sukeforthian bullpen for future editions of this session. If you want to get in on the fun and you have something interesting that you'd like to share with us, send me an email directly so that I can get you on the list. Mark Hoyle, subtle hint. He may just be one on his own with that room back there. That is amazing, and I think should be talked about a little bit more, because that's incredible, Mark. And we'd love to have you talk about it at some point if you wouldn't mind. He's shaking his head yes there on camera and whatnot. But guys, great stuff. And we're going to do this again. So stay tuned and watch for the next time we do this. But we're going to get together again next week. That would be August 24th at 7:30 Eastern, when we will have author Addie Baird discussing her new book, The Magical Game: The Spirit and History of Baseball Superstitions, Rituals, and Curses. The sign-up link is available at our new chapter events calendar at brucemcclurenh.com. Dixie, go.
I just want to remind everybody who might be in the Hollis, New Hampshire area tomorrow at noontime, it will be time for Pizza with Pete. Pete Palmer, Herm Krabenhoft, and myself, maybe Joanne will be there tomorrow. So if you're around Hollis, New Hampshire, pizza place on Ash Street, noontime, we'll be there.
The Hollis House of Pizza. Not only are you going to get a good pizza, you're also going to hang out with some of SABR's elite researchers and members. If you're not there, that's a problem. And full disclosure, I can't make it tomorrow because I actually have a meeting with SABR regarding a couple of things that I need to work on. And unfortunately, it's at noon, so I can't be there. But keep me posted because I want to get back down there and see you guys. But finally, hey, if you're a baseball fan and you're watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our weekly uploads. And if you are not yet a member, why not? You need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community, offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom. SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to sabr.org today. This has been fun. Gentlemen, thank you very much for doing this. Folks, thanks for being here. Let's get everybody out of here so we can watch some baseball. Have a good night, everybody.